What's up, everybody? This is Tree broadcasting live from Dirtfest 2014. I'm here with the guys from Nothing More. What's happening, guys?
Not too much, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, doing well.
You know, you guys came on the scene pretty quick. I've had a lot of success with This Is the Time. And, the first time I really got exposure to you was at Rock on the Range, which I was blown away by you guys. Wasn't the most ideal performance for you. Could you walk me through how that felt, to have all that stuff?
Yeah. I think every artist goes through the shows where something breaks, inevitably. But we had kind of the whole brain of our operation that had all of our cables going through it fail. And we had a backup in place, and the backup failed, and it was just a total disaster. And so we were on stage in front of thousands of people trying to figure out how to repatch some things without going into detail. We have a very complex setup with how we do this big bass solo and how we run it through some effects. So we were trying to problem solve in the moment, and which is always fun to do in front of thousands of people. So we got through it though, and the people there stuck with it, stuck with us through it, and it was one for the history books for us.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much every band's worst nightmare. You're in a big festival crowd and your gear just cuts out on you. But I got to say, you guys pulled through it like champs. I was blown away by the performance, and a lot of bands would have just said, fuck it, we're done with this, and walked off, So it says a lot that you guys stayed out there and stuck with it. Ended up killing it, too. So.
Oh, thanks.
Now, I heard that you used to be the drummer for this band. Is that right?
Yeah, I started playing drums when I was 7, so that's kind of my first instrument.
Okay.
And when I met Daniel and Mark, our guitar player, I was in 7th grade, so it's been a long time that we've been playing together. And it was maybe about 5 years now, or somewhere around there, that I started singing. We had a bunch of different singers throughout the years, and it just never quite clicked right. And we were always writing the lyrics and melodies together in a room, all of us anyway. So it wasn't until one inebriated night in Mexico that we were playing Cabo San Lucas that I walked into our hotel room and told Mark that I wanted to sing, and Mark's response was, I know. I guess he knew before I did, but that's kind of the nutshell.
Didn't do a very good job of keeping that secret.
I know, I guess not.
I could hear you screaming over the drums.
Yeah.
I read this on Wikipedia, I think. I don't know how much truth is to it. You can never trust everything you hear on Wikipedia. But it said that you didn't think you were that great of a singer in the beginning. Is that true?
Well, it actually was true.
Okay. Did you hit puberty and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, magic?
No, well, okay, so if you rewind many years, I was in elementary school and I tried out for the choir, and there was like 10, 15 kids in my class because I went to a small private school. So there was only about 2 or 3 kids that didn't make the choir, and I was one of them. And so, you take those experiences with you through life, I think, especially at an impressionable age. And so I always had the idea in my head that singing wasn't for me. But over time, I started singing in the shower, and, I'd sing in the car by myself, as, anybody does. And I started doing some background vocals, as did Daniel and Mark. And so I was doing some backgrounds from the drums, and over time I got a little bit more confident, and the guys supported me. And it's actually funny, at one point in the band's history, all of us have been a lead singer of the band at some point.
We've all tried out.
We've all tried out.
Yeah, I tried out when Johnny tried out to be the lead singer, when we had fired the other guy. We're like, it's like, you're a lot better than I am.
Are you still holding out hope that it's maybe not going to work out with him?
No, thank God it didn't work. I don't want that role. I'm a
dark alley one night.
Player.
Dan's gonna take me out.
Take out his throat. Yeah.
I also heard that you guys had an interesting touring tradition in the early days that you've had to discontinue.
Yeah.
Scars?
Yeah. Whose idea was this?
Oh, Scars. Yeah.
Here are mine. Johnny's healed up really well, so they're harder to see.
Mine look like his look way more manly and hardcore than mine.
So
how did my skin heals well? I don't know.
How did this idea come about? You guys just decided to brand yourself?
There was kind of a meeting place of 2 separate ideas that we turned into one. And basically, when we started touring, Daniel actually came back from living on the side of a mountain for 6 months in Colorado, being a whitewater rafting guide.
Nice.
He quit music, just hated it. And he moved back to Texas after that with kind of this renewed sense of passion and vision. And this was my senior year in high school. He convinced me not to go to college. He's like, we need to go on the road. He's like, fuck college. That is the dumbest. He's like, it's a waste of time if you're trying to make it in music, because he went to Belmont, which was a music school for a small time. Anyway, long story short, I was like, okay, I'm down for that, but if I'm not going to college and Mark's dropping out, we all have to be in this together, like for the long term. Like this is a marriage of sorts. So we pulled out a map and basically just started brainstorming, and then we said, all right, like we're all in this long term and we need to make a pact. And so a tattoo was a little bit cliche, hiring a lawyer for a contract a little too expensive, so we just heated up the back end of a knife and made a burn for every year of touring. And at 3 years, that's why we only have 3 scars. We stopped because at the time there was 5 of us in the band. There was a different singer. Yeah. There was another guitar player who's like my best friend that I started the band with. And both of them ended up leaving the band. There was only 3 of us left. That was the year that I started singing, and that's why we have 3 scars. But it was kind of one of those symbolic things that every scar is a bridge to someone's heart, which is kind of I don't know if you want to call it a mission statement necessarily, but the mantra of the band is that kind of goes along with it.
It's pretty poetic for something that probably hurt like hell.
The healing process was worse than the sting. Yeah. It's like it stings for a second, and then
mine itched for a year after each one, like a year of like scratching daily. It was weird. I don't know why.
You guys just dropped the self-titled album, and you co-produced this, right?
Yeah, I have a home studio now I live in an apartment, but we moved into a house together. My room was the control room, and we did most of the recording there, and then Daniel's room was down the hall, and we had the amps set up in there and all the cables running from my door under his door, and we had the rehearsal room downstairs and the machine shop out in the garage where Dan was working on all the show stuff. So we had kind of like a factory going in this house where I was doing most of the recording, and Mark was helping doing the editing and everything, and he was out doing a lot of the building and construction work and getting the van and but at the end of the day, we'd always come back and finish the songs together. Yeah. But I co-produced it with our manager, Will, who's been with us actually since the record before The Few Not Fleeting. He produced a few songs on there.
Do you find it more difficult to self-produce? Because I know how it is, like you make sometimes it's harder for people to separate themselves from it and self-edit. And some people would rather just hand it off and be like, do what makes this sound best. But
well, it's a double-edged sword whenever you do it on your own, because like you said, that was the biggest reason we had Will a part of the whole process, co-producing. Yeah. We would record a bunch of stuff and we'd send it to him, and then he would call us back and give us all these thoughts and feedback. So we always had that objective wall to bounce all the ideas off of the whole process. That was really important. But doing it ourselves allowed us to experiment in ways that I think, you see a lot of the rock world over the last 10 years it's kind of in a tough spot, because I think everybody's afraid, so they resort to what they know rather than taking chances and being creative.
There's a lot of going back to the well these days, it seems like.
Yeah, exactly. So we weren't on a label at the time, so doing it ourselves allowed us to explore and try things without the pressure of having to make a dollar bill for anything. We just had to pay our bills and get by, and we just focused all on the record.
Now, a couple of the songs on the album, which are both great songs, by the way, they seem very pointed, and they even have people's names in the titles, like The Matthew Effect. Is that about somebody specific? Or is it just...
The title, The Matthew Effect, is actually like a technical term.
Okay.
I don't even think is it in the book of Matthew?
It's actually, it was ripped out of the book of Matthew, but it's just a term that's used in sociology and just different forms of, I'm trying to think, like even in the educational system, they use it as a term to say that the smart kids are going to get smarter.
Okay.
The dumb kids are going to get dumber, because at a young age, they start investing in these children that are showing potential, and the ones that don't, they neglect. And so it's just those small differences at a young age that over time, where you end up, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Yeah. It's that whole concept. And it's, I don't know, it stuck out to us as an interesting verse, if you will, because, we grew up with our parents were very religious, so we know the Bible like the back of our hand. We don't subscribe to all of it, at all, but it was a very interesting statement, because it wasn't like, saying "Blessed are the blah blah blah" or something about Christianity. It was almost like negative, and it caught our interest. Like, what does that actually mean? So we had a few people in our lives that each of us, I think, individually had a different person that this song is about.
Oh, okay.
But collectively, it all makes sense. It's about those people who basically are kind of the leeches of society that you can give them all the help in the world, and you can drag the horse to water kind of a thing, but at the end of the day, they have to help themselves, and it's hard to watch, especially when they're loved ones who are just kind of wasting everything that's been given to them. But it's kind of about that.
I thought it might be a biblical reference because I'm not a big Bible guy. Yeah. But also I thought either it's a biblical reference or they fucking hate this Matthew guy.
Yeah,
like that Matthew guy is a dick. That's what I thought. Now, Jenny, is that a song about somebody specific, or is it just a song you kind of gave a name to?
That song's about my sister Jenna, but like all of our songs, we write them all together, and Daniel and Mark also have someone in their lives that a lot of the themes and concepts behind the lyrics reflect a lot of their experiences as well. So that's just kind of how we write all the songs, but the title and most of the content is about my sister Jenna, who was named after my Aunt Jenny.
Okay.
And I named it Jenny because my mom, when my sister was being born, she actually came out with the umbilical cord around her neck, and they thought she was going to die. Lost a lot of oxygen to her brain. Ever since then, my mom always had this weird motherly instinct, kind of a suspicion that something was wrong. But when kids are growing up, you don't know if they have something wrong because they throw a tantrum or a fit. They're just being a kid, right?
Yeah.
It's only until they get older and they start making more complex decision making that you start seeing that something's off. And she named her Jenna after my aunt because it was kind of this, I think, her attempt at some sort of redemption, because my Aunt Jenny went full-blown schizophrenic, has lost her mind since college. It's been like 30 years now. She's been just in a home, like not there. Jeez. And so it was kind of heartbreaking to watch my mom naming my sister after her sister, who went through this tragic experience when she was young. She watched her dad die in front of her eyes in a plane crash. Yeah. And I think that set her off. And then my mom got cancer, and it kind of replayed the story in this really weird, kind of eerie way, where my mom, as she was in her final year of cancer, my sister Jenna started exhibiting all these signs of bipolar and schizophrenia, and mixed with hard drug use, which was a cocktail for disaster. And so, in a nutshell, there's a lot to it, but my mom was basically fighting it out to the bitter end to help just barely get my sister through this very tough time with the last ounce of strength she had with cancer.
Yeah, that's tough. That's deep, man. It was a phenomenal song.
Thank you.
You guys have had, like I said, the success has just been going up and up with This Is the Time, and more people are getting to know you. What's the coolest thing you've got to do so far since the radio play and everything's been getting more and more?
We went and played paintball 2 days ago.
I think I saw that on Facebook, actually, with one of our sister stations.
That was a lot of fun, yeah.
That's the first time we gotten to do something like that with a radio station.
Yeah.
Really, I think a lot of the coolest... So, I don't know, the cool thing is just the people that come out, the people that... Like, we've done it for so long where we return to, like, the same bar 100 times and we get to know everybody. But it's really special now to, like, go to a new place we've never been and, and get to, like, get stopped outside of the venue and get to have, like, a real conversation with somebody that, like, heard you on the radio and wanted to come see you. So,
it's
been really neat,
It's pretty surreal,
Yeah, you enjoy it now, that's the thing, because, like, in a year, you're going to be so sick of doing goofy with radio stations. You're like, we got to go bowling with these. Tommy says no. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thanks for playing Dirt Fest this year, man. I'm excited to see a full set. Hopefully, no equipment stuff this time.
I know. Seriously.
All right, thanks for coming through. Thanks for the interview. This is Tree Broadcasting live with nothing more. Dirt Fest 2014.